Thank you, Susan.
Foster.
That's fine. I'm prepared.
So about a month ago, the Census Bureau finally released all of the 2020 population data, and county staff immediately got to looking at that data and looking at, how our population had changed. And I guess as you guys have seen, our population did decrease slightly. The guide to local redistricting that the Division of Legislative Services puts out, basically gives guidelines for how we proceed with redistricting. And they require that all of our election districts must be have essentially the same population with a 5% deviation, plus or minus from the ideal population. So Nelson's ideal district population is 2,955 people. And when you look at the current populations, along with a deviation of plus or minus 5%, only one of our districts fell outside of being a conforming district as far as the district population went. And you can, see that there, the central district with the plus 7.55%, that was the only one that, we were required to reduce the population of. So we took a look at the map, so we took a look at the population and where we could, make a fairly insignificant change in population to bring the central district into compliance. And what we found, might be easier just to go straight to the map. We found that there's a small area right here at Woods Mill. It's shown larger here on the map bottom. That essentially consists of that area where the Woods Mill subdivision and Woodridge Farm Brewery is. Relocating the people in that area from the central, from the central district into the east district, would bring all of the districts into compliance. And you can see here that the new district populations, based on that map and the new census data, do bring all of these numbers down to within the plus or minus 5% of the ideal population. It involves moving a total of 119 citizens, as it appears in the census data from the central to the east.
Yeah, the prison conversation. That's what I was kind of more interested in, because that would be interesting.
Yeah, so that is in the state code. Apparently, the Division of Legislative Services is going to at some point provide us with some adjusted population data. Hopefully that data doesn't vary significantly from the population numbers that we're using here. And I think I've asked Jackie recently if she has heard anything about when, any modified data will be provided, and she has not. Yeah.
So you've got this listed as scenario 1. What other scenarios did you look at?
Just one. I did this as a starting point because I thought that this particular solution was disruptive to very few citizens in the county. We looked further because I guess ideally, East District is a, plus 0.74% deviation. If you look at North and Central, one's, plus 3 point something and one's minus 3 point something. Same thing with South and West District, one's plus 2. It would be nice to maybe bring those more into the 0 point something percent, but I felt like, certainly, this is just a starting point for you guys to decide if you want to act further. The problems that I saw for the North District, to make it larger, you're either going to have to go into this area around Stony Creek to try to find additional people, or you're gonna have to go down Route 6 further into the Central District to find them, or possibly even take people from here, which is like the Buck Creek, all those roads, to the left as you're traveling on 29 North. I didn't think those people would be particularly happy to be going to Afton to vote as opposed to Auburn. I think splitting that Stony Creek community in any way might be controversial, but that's an option. And then, East District's great. Obviously with
That's
this
true.
scenario. And when you look over here, for the West, you're either talking about, getting even further over, trying to think what's right. I guess that's.
Beach
Is
Road
Beach
Road.
Road?
That's
Right.
Beach Road
Road.
Road.
Brent's Mountain, is that what that?
Yeah, for some reason, this map doesn't look right there, but,
Beach Road Road is the line.
yeah. I think that other, whatever that is, or they get confused. It was almost like you were gonna wanna move the West District, this is 29, you were gonna be going south of 29 to pick up people for the West District, like I say, either there, you're going practically into Lovingston to pick them up, or you're going deeper into Nelly's Ford. So those were just my observations, and I think, today we were just here with scenario one to say.
And some of the parameters that you have to work by is it has to be a physical, visible kind of line, like a creek, river, road, mountain range.
Right.
Some kind of physical, you can't just necessarily, though, I guess the scenario can happen where you go off a road, but there's some clear, best you can,
Right.
contiguous.
Yeah, and you can see a lot of those lines, there are roads. I meant to bring this up earlier, but this map actually does contain the census blocks. And these numbers that are in those blocks are the population that is attributed to that block. So, for instance, if you're going from the North District, you're starting to go into this Stony Creek area, there's a huge block there with 316 people in it, which immediately breaks the bank as far as putting those people in the North, because then I think the North is over.
Right.
So.
And we have to go by those specific blocks.
And and those census blocks are there primarily because there is that water feature, road,
I see.
something physical on the ground. That's why sometimes just a lot of them had 0 people, but they were like a geographic feature that it was easy to create a block.
I see.
So clearly it makes sense that the Central District gets, loses something someplace, and that totally makes sense. But the deviation is actually larger in the North District. The negative deviation right now. So first of all, it seems like, if that a scenario that would change something in the North District might be preferable just by looking at the numbers.
Right.
The other thing is that in the Central District, there's 2 areas that are, I think, also worth looking at. One would be the south part of Faber, and the other one would be just around, Perry Lane past Davis Creek. Those are both on the.
So you moved, so basically we're trying to get Ernie. Ernie's got a lose how many people to get into compliance?
Ernie he was at 3,178 and he had to be under 3,103. So he had to go down by 70, at least 75 people. Yeah, when you say, Perry Lane, Davis Creek, we looked at that area. It didn't make quite as clean of a line as the Woods Mill area. And if you put both the Woods Mill area and the Davis Creek area both into the East District, then your population.
Well, that'd be way
is too high.
over, but the Perry Lane, you've got, what, 97 and 13, that's 110. I'm looking at the numbers right.
7, I don't see that, I can't see that.
Where does
Perry
people
Lane's
live
over
on
there at the
Perry
back
Lane?
end of Davis
How do
Creek.
they get out of,
It's on the 29.
it goes to 29. So
Yeah.
that would make the most sense.
Well, I mean, so does Woods Mill.
Yeah, and I mean, just one other thing to point out about where the new boundary line is between the Central and the East District. The boundary line would be coming from Davis Creek Lane, and then it would be Route 29 to Woods Mill, and then the Rockfish River, all the way to the
Right,
tracks.
right.
And,
Those would be the two solid lines.
yeah, whereas I think currently it's Mendes Road to Stagebridge Road to Rockfish River Road to the tracks.
Yeah. The other piece that's a little problematic is, of course, the Faber precinct, where you've got, where you have the fire station right on the edge.
Well, that they're using the railroad tracks.
Is that the railroad tracks?
That
you're
their
using?
railroad tracks divide us there.
Yeah. I just think it would be good to have another scenario to look at and the numbers that might.
So why don't you get us a really good map that we can zoom in on a PDF?
Okay.
And then me and Ernie can arm wrestle.
Okay. I mean, is this map,
It looks pretty,
I mean, if I can give you this in a PDF, because basically I think, you'll see your precincts, you'll see your districts, and you'll see the number of people you're dealing with on a block by
Sure.
block level.
and our target number is, Ernie needs to lose 78 people.
Right.
Yeah.
And it can be
At least
more,
78 people or 78
It
people.
could be, the minimum of 70,
at least 75.
at least 75.
And it could be as much, I mean, he can go down as far as 2807, but I'll do the math and tell you, well, everybody has to be between 2807 and 3103.
Right.
So he, I guess it's possible that he could lose, he can't lose more than you can gain. You've got to be in
Yeah,
compliance, so-
the other piece is just to the east of Nelly's Ford, where the north drops down there, and there's that little, right behind the Ford in Nelly's Ford on your
Right,
map.
so that's basically the Rhodes Farm area.
Right. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
So 75, and you give us some parameters.
Right.
I would love to have you come up with the proposals, and then Jesse and I throw things at each other for a while.
Good.
Because
I mean, another
Because
option-
I feel like to some extent to have us deciding on, I mean, it would be nice if he and I agree on something, but for the most part, it would be nice to have a non-partial thing to bounce off of and not something.
partial.
Yeah, and I mean, we can't always have a work session and actually physically look at the numbers change because we have software that, we click these blocks and we say move it to this
Right.
district and everything
Yeah.
just dynamically changes.
I think that would honestly, in some ways, we could play with, yeah. I think a good piece of paper for both of us would be good in the interim.
Yeah.
And then we can play around with it some. When is the deadline to decide this?
We don't know.
But and I mean, I'm gonna be dead serious, when we get the prison population, I mean, there's some Schuyler residents in there. I mean, there's some Livingston people in there.
Yeah.
I think we'll all find out. There might be
There's probably a
Afton people in there, and we might almost be working on it too soon,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how many people, what's our prison population
I
currently?
don't understand. People that,
Residents of our relative precincts who are incarcerated will now be counted in our population,
okay,
correct?
Right.
Yeah. Because
So
I guess,
if they have a physical address and that address
Yeah.
is in Nelson County, that
Yeah. I
person
mean-
is gonna be,
Steve, what is our prison population? 60, 70?
I'm not sure, probably in that arena.
Why does- yeah.
We're about 18% of the population, which is about 375 right now, so 37, yeah, about 50 or 60.
50, 60 people. And that could make some of we're that's such a small number that we're working with trying to fix for Ernie that it could, that's an entire voting census block, hypothetically. Although I do like 61, 25.
well, I'm sure the large number of prison population comes from Stony Creek.
Yes, Yes. Yeah, I agree.
You just, because you have money doesn't mean you be paid for it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And,
So-
another option, because you brought up a good point, looking at the percentages, I'm confused why this is the Jesse Ernie show when, I mean,
Exactly.
seriously,
Yeah.
when, what about what about me taking over, Glenthorne Loop or the other side of Beach Road? Those are some options.
Yeah.
Because my percentage, yes.
Those beach road people are still not over being moved into the West District last time.
The
Yeah.
left side of the road.
West side of the road.
That's it's a sore subject,
I mean,
that's why we kind
It
of
is.
avoided
I
it.
get calls every election day.
I get it.
Excuse me, Mr. Parker.
They don't want to come over the
I get
mountain.
it. That wall is there, Brent's Mountain. But I'm just throwing out, looking at the numbers, not looking at the
Right.
geography.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting how it was like, between north and central, it was like north was down by 3%.
I'm still shocked
was
by
up
Or,
3%.
taking both sides of freshwater. That's another half the road, is freshwater.
And we don't know yet if this is going to affect November. Is that true?
I don't believe it's gonna.
It's
be-
not.
It's not going to
Not
affect.
for local.
Okay.
No, we think that we need to be done, around December timeframe?
Somewhere.
Okay.
I think we can figure this out by October. Hopefully. Steve, can you send an inquiry of our prison population? Because I do know probably half of them ain't even from Nelson.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, all right, make sure we're not gonna have any major skew. And if we could get a big piece of paper with the census blocks, that'd be great.
Okay.
For all of us, I think that would be helpful.
Are you going to look at these as well and come up with some
Yeah, we'll
scenarios?
start to do some other
Yeah.
scenarios that just kind of take into account some things you've had and, about particular areas and,
Good.
just what kind of.
Yeah, the concern of the citizens is where they're gonna vote, really. That's what they care about most.
And then, that was kind of where we used this. This was like a minimum disruption kind of scenario here that we thought, people from, Woods Mill area wouldn't be totally
Where do the central
disrupted if they
people
drive the
vote?
road to Livingston or Pollard.
Where do the people in your district vote?
Fauber. And
No, it's
the folks here would be, the people that you're changing would be in Fauber, because they're all Fauber. They're the
So
Fauber.
that's the only place they vote is Fob?
Yeah.
Nelly's for it.
No, but the
Oh, no,
ones that are
the ones
within the
affected
change,
by this
the
change.
affected area. The affected area is Fauber.
Hypothetical. All right. Is that a good plan? Ernie, you okay with that plan of action?
I am, just
We all
don't trust
get-
us to do the right thing. You need
Get
to
us
need
big
to-
pieces of paper,
What's that?
get us a big piece of paper.
So you
so we
want
can
that
see
one
the
that's
census.
print?
Yeah, so that I can see it. I think that'd be
Chris, you
helpful.
want this off?
Draw straws. Draw straws.
Yeah, pistols.
What's that?
Pistols.
Listen, we can go to Woods Mill and do a poll. I'll buy the beer.
Yeah, but the folks that live around there,
Yeah.
is different, very different. They love us both, that's a problem. Okay, so that's gonna bring us to new and unfinished business. And so we are looking at the authorization for a public hearing.